At the outset, let me express my happiness over the fact that I am addressing the students of Indian Academy of Law and Management. It is indeed a pleasure talking to all of you. You are free to ask me questions on my email ID, which will be mentioned at the bottom of the monitor. And after you listen to me, if there is anything, you can always get back to me on the email ID which is mentioned at the bottom of the screen. India is changing, and now today, over the last few years, particularly 15 or 20 years, India has emerged as an emerging economic power, military power and political power. India is the largest democracy in the world. India militarily is strong. We don't have to depend much to protect our borders. And then India economically is also one of the fastest growing economies in the world. And therefore, it is but natural that the youth of India has great aspirations, has big ambitions. They have become dreamers because they want to find a place for themselves in this country, in this growing country. And one area where they have evinced much greater interest than in the past is politics. When my father, Lal Bahadur Shastri, was the Prime Minister, he used to tell us, we were children at that time, and he used to tell us that they got into politics because they wanted to free India from the impious rule of the British, and they did this under the leadership of Mahatma Gandhi. Now there is no freedom struggle, but yes, there is an urge, there is a desire on the part of the youth of this nation, the younger generation, to get involved in the growth process of this country. You can become a doctor, you can become an engineer, you can go into government service, you can all contribute. But I think people involved with politics, they can contribute much more to the growth of our society and of our nation. And therefore this urge is there, this desire is there on the part of younger people today to get involved into politics. They start at the level of university and colleges, and then thereafter they get affiliated to a political party. It could be any party in the country, and they get themselves affiliated to the youth wings of this party, and then they come on to the parent organization. My appeal to the younger generation wanting to get into politics is to remember 2-3 things. One is that whatever you do, your activities should be constructive. It should not be destructive. Shouting slogans, asking for a right is all right, but then burning a bus, burning a police station is not the right approach. This is not what Mahatma Gandhi told us to do. And killing people, agitating to the extent that there is firing, and as firing people get killed, that I call destructive. That is only to get some news, but then you are not serving the purpose for which you are getting into politics. Constructive politics is to create awareness amongst your fellow students, amongst your fellow youth members, that what is wrong with the society, what is wrong with the system, and how to correct this system. India's greatest problem is that though it is growing, but we are still following the laws which were made by the British for them to rule over India. We have to have our own laws. The laws of the land should be such which we should be able to follow. You have to create awareness, you have to fight for it, you have to make representations, you have to talk about it. And the second thing I would have said, the third thing rather, is do not lose sight of ethics. India is a country which has produced people like Swami Vivekananda, Rabindranath Tagore, Mahatma Gandhi, Maulana Azad, Lal Bahadur Shastri, who believed in ethics, who believed in value systems. I know it is difficult, but when there is a will, there is a way. You should always make it a point that wherever you are, and particularly the younger generation, wherever you are, please remember, don't lose sight of ethics, don't lose sight of value system. Keep these value systems at the back of your mind, and everything, every time that you are compelled to do something wrong, you should just think that you belong to a country where value systems, where ethics have always played a very, very important role. And another thing that I'd like to say other than this is that you are fortunate to have been born in a country which has produced such great people, whether in industry, whether in medicine, whether in science, whether in politics. We have had people in this country who would not only match with the big people across the world, but they are much greater, much bigger than what they are, what is available in other part of this globe. So yeah, there is one question that is always asked is that once you get into politics and you are doing full-time politics, how do you earn your livelihood? Now, let me tell you that for that it is necessary that you must study, you must work hard, you must be qualified academically, and you should be self-sufficient. You have to be on your own. When Shastriji got into politics, he was teaching. He used to take tuitions to support the family. And therefore, I'm just giving one example. It is therefore necessary that when you decide to do full-time politics, first of all, there has got to be an age. You cannot do full-time politics. I mean, this is my view. You may agree or may not agree. You cannot do full-time politics at the age of 18. You cannot do full-time politics at the age of 21. You have to first settle down in life. You have to make arrangements for your livelihood so that you do not have to depend financially on anybody else. Because if you do not do that, then the tendency will be not to work for the society or to do anything for the people of this country, but the tendency will be to earn money through corrupt means. And that's why most of the politicians do not they do not make arrangements for the livelihood, and therefore they are termed as corrupt. Today, majority of the people in politics, unfortunately, are not clean people, they are corrupt people. And therefore, my advice is that always first make sure that you are on your own financially, you don't have to depend, and you can start something on your own. You can be in your father's business, you can take up a kind of a job, do part-time politics. It is not that you have to do full-time politics all the time. Wait for an opportunity. If you get a ticket for an assembly or parliament, then automatically you get salary and lot of things. Another thing that I want to tell you is that it is ironical that the MPs and MLAs are paid very less. I mean, on one side we have the 6th pay commission, and the 7th pay commission is now coming, with the salaries of the bureaucracy or the government employees is going up. But with the moment the MLAs or the MPs salaries are increased, there is a big hue and cry that the lawmakers pass a bill to increase their own salaries. Now, for example, an MLA in Delhi, he gets something like about ₹1 lakh. Now, it is not possible. He has to run an office, he has to have his staff, he has to give tea to the people coming to his office, to his constituents. So, what is ₹1 lakh? So, it is not. It's not. Similarly, in the case of MP, also the salary is okay for himself and his family, but then it is not enough to do politics. So, try to plan your political career in a way that you are on your own and you can earn something for yourself and your family. Women have increasingly been playing very important role in politics, and I am very happy that a lot of young women have come into politics. and they are doing pretty well. And women must take inspiration for so many big political leaders. You have Indira Gandhi, you have Margaret Thatcher there, and today the President of Brazil is also a woman, the Chancellor of Germany is also a woman. And not only that, in the corporate world also you have Indira Nooyi, you have Chandra Kochar of ICICI. So there are a lot of Kiran Shaw you have got, and so there are very Vinita Bali, who was the managing director of Britannia's. So these people have been there. They are big doctors, gynecologists, heart surgeons in politics. You big lawyers, you women you find in politics. So in no way a woman is less competent than a man. And let me tell you that there is no dearth of opportunities in India now, because the way India has grown, there is no dearth of opportunities in India. But to avail that opportunity, whether you are a boy or you are a girl, you have to be competent and qualified. You have to be well qualified, and you have to be at the same time a competent person. You cannot have a laid back approach, ki chalta hai kind of an attitude will not work in India anymore. And therefore, you have to be a little dynamic, and at the same time not losing sight of the value systems and ethics. So I feel, women in India are in the process of getting empowered. There is reservation in the local bodies elections. A lot of women get elected in the panchayats and in the corporations, and there is also a great move to introduce reservation for 33% reservation for women in the parliament, in the assemblies. If that happens, you will find a lot of women MPs and MLAs in the future. But it is not all that easy, because the men are opposing it, so it's not easy. But I personally think that there must be reservation for women, so that they also get an opportunity. So there are ample opportunities for women to grow, and it is reservation or no reservation, because, and if you see the results also, when we had class 10 result, class 12 result, I find in the newspapers that those who toppers are mostly all girls. So they are intelligent, qualified, well informed, and I think there is great future for the women in this country of ours.